Well, no matter what language you speak, whether it's Spanish or any other, welcome to Rewound Radio. Hi, everyone. It's Jon Wolfert, and I am coming to you absolutely live from Dallas, home of the Jingle Palace, and we will explore all nooks and crannies of the Jingle Palace today in a kind of unusual way. So, hope you will stick with me here for the rest of the day and enjoy the music and the stuff here at Rewound Radio. You know you wanna.
Rockin' and rollin', Rewound Radio. Completely live from the Jingle Palace in Dallas. You found the Rewound sound. Rewound!
And let's get it in gear here. You don't have to dress up to listen to this show. God knows I don't dress up to do it, but you might be putting your blue dress on. You might be a devil. If so...
All right. Jump up. Get it. Hey, devil with the blue dress. All right. Gonna sock it to me now.
Sock it to me. Come on, all you devils. Sock it to me right here on Although you look more like an angel to me, these things are somewhat confusing.
You look like an angel. Look like an angel.
Devil or angel doesn't matter to me. You're all welcome right here, and you're welcome to join the show. You know how to do that. Go to the Rewound Radio Facebook page. You can post a message there, or you can go to rewoundradio.com, scroll down, find the link under John. Let me know if you're a devil, an angel, or what.
I can see her lying back in her satin dress.
Rewound Radio, well... the way out of that problem, you see, if you don't like the sun going down, be on the space station and just follow it.
One day you'll look to see I've gone, for tomorrow may rain, so I'll follow the sun.
Just as long as you follow us.
Rewound Radio.
Well, Keith McComb points out that if I'm playing Sundown and Follow the Sun, it would make perfect sense to play Midnight by Dennis Yost and the Classics 4. I think we can do that for you here at Rewound Radio.
When the sun comes up in the morning,
Oh, that's sad. On Rewound Radio, he says he's always Midnight Blue. Well, Midnight Blue, that's not a bad song to be, if you're going to be a song anyway. Rewound Radio with the best music and Miss Melissa Manchester.
Whatever it is, it'll keep till the morning. Hoping we can make it.
Oh, you're going to make it. Just keep trying.
Looks like we're gonna make it.
Does look like that. Take along Rewound Radio because
Rewound Radio treat you right with the best music day and night.
you got it right here. Well, what you hear is what you get. It is radio after all. And what you're going to hear in a little while is kind of an out there jingle time.
Some people are made of plastic.
Don't know what that added, but they put it in there anyway. What you see is what you get, and what you see is me, and I am talking in rhythm. Huh?
Walking in rhythm, singing my song,
Talking and walking in rhythm. That's what we do here at Rewound Radio. And from time to time, we fire up the Celeste. Yes, you hear it playing. It makes the song go round.
You know love makes the world go round. Go back.
Good finger snapping music. Love makes the world go round. And you know what makes radio go around, right? Those jingle thingies.
On Rewound, it's jingle time.
Jingles. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Rewound. Its more than 5-year mission to explore strange new jingles, to seek out new stations and new IDs, to boldly go where no man or woman has gone before. I told you it was going to be out there. It's kind of a outer space theme here. Well, we're going to try something here. We're going to combine jingle geekery with tech geekery and see if we can discover some strange new worlds or civilizations here. And trying to think of the best way to introduce this, because there's a lot of different elements packed in here. I guess I'll just dive in and start, because, you know, these segments, despite what you may think, these are not scripted and just vaguely planned. So let's see what I can do here. When we talk about New York City radio stations, which we often do because a lot of them had memorable jingles, we tend to think of the big stations on the left-hand side of the AM dial, the 50,000 watt stations like 66 WNBC or WFAN, depending on the era, or 77 WABC, 88 WCBS, 1010 WINS, you know, all of those stations, and even the ones that weren't 50,000 watts, WMCA, 570 was a big deal, and so on. WNEW, of course. So we had all of those stations on that part of the dial. But once you get up above, above 1130, where WNEW is, those stations don't get a whole lot of attention because nobody thinks much about them in terms of jingles. And I will admit that neither did I. However, one fateful day in the 1960s, I was trying my best to listen to WAVZ in New Haven, Connecticut, from my listening point, which at that point was on Long Island. And I could pick up 13 waves. However, there was a New York station on 1280. And it would bleed into my reception of 13 waves. You could kind of hear it. Its sideband would kind of bleed over, and you could hear it in the background. So I noticed that there was a jingle on this 1280 station, and I never was able to get a clean recording of this jingle other than in the background behind this WAVZ recording. Now, I'm going to play this for you. It's only 13 seconds. And if you're not accustomed to AM radio DXing, which means the hobby of trying to listen to distant radio stations, this will probably just sound like a bunch of noise to you or something real irritating, and you won't understand how anybody would want to listen to things like this for hours at a time. But like I said, it's only 13 seconds. If you are an experienced DXer, try your best to ignore the WAVZ signal and listen to what's going on behind it.
This is WABC in New Haven, where news comes first at 5:30.
Did you hear a Spanish voice there in the background? Well, if you listen to that over and over again, you would know that there was a jingle going on back there where they were singing WADO Radio 1280, 1280. That was the jingle. And then the announcer went WADO and then said 1280 in Spanish. And I never listened to WADO because I don't speak Spanish, and it was just like radio from a different planet altogether. But it occurred to me, well, if they had that jingle, maybe they had other jingles. And how weird would it be to hear jingles from a essentially, to me anyway, a whole different planet. Like, how would they get into the news?
WADO New York.
Noticias Wado. Yeah, okay. That was from the 70s. I have no idea who made those things for that radio station or what. But here's the thing. Let me tell you a little bit about this station, and then I will share with you some technical explorations, and you'll see what we're talking about here. WADO, W-A-D-O, it is, believe it or not, at 50,000 watts during the day, which is real unusual for a station on 1280, because 1280 is supposed to be a regional channel, so for a long time nobody could be more than 5,000 watts on 1280, but WADO during the day, with their 4-tower directional array, is 50,000 watts. But anyway, this station actually began back in 1926 with the call letters WGL, and in 1928 they changed it to WOV, and WOV had a long run, but in 1941 WOV and WNEW traded identities and frequencies and so forth. So WOV moved to 1280, where it still is, and WNEW moved from 1280 to 1130, where it was for all of those years. So in 1959, the station was sold to Bartell, and they changed the call letters to WADO. So it's been WADO since 1959. And during the day, that station broadcast top 40 and R&B music. And then at night, it ran Italian programming. By 1962, they added some Spanish on the weekends. And by 63, the only English you found on WADO was Sunday. They did some religious broadcasting. But they did begin to emphasize the Spanish language programming in the 60s. And by 1964, it was broadcasting completely in Spanish, from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m., and in Italian from 8 p.m. to midnight, and then overnight it was Asian. I mean, there's so many people in New York City that there is actually a market for each of those languages to have a radio station. But by 1970, the Spanish had replaced the Asian format. During their top 40 and R&B era, they did have some famous DJs on the air, notably a guy by the name of Jocko Henderson, who did shows on radio stations in Philadelphia and in New York at WOV and WADO. He did a show called Jocko's Rocket Ship Show, and he was a kind of a jive-talking R&B DJ, and he would 1 minute be screaming at you, and the next minute be all sexy, cool, you know, like that. And he exposed a lot of R&B songs that weren't being heard on the mainstream top 40 kind of radio stations. So there was that. But here's what I'm focused on now is some of these jingles that WADO, W-A-D-O, had in the 70s and 80s, because later on in time they became a Spanish news talk station, and then a sports station, and then it's gone through a whole lot of different formats and owners and all that. But let me play you something and talk to you about the intriguing nature of hearing radio stuff done in other languages.
Su compañía será siempre relajante y cariñosa cuando se acuesta con...
You can probably understand at least the call letters W-A-D-O, W-A-D-O, right? Okay. But I got curious as to, well, what was that voiceover? What was the guy saying? I don't speak Spanish. I only know a few Spanish words that I've learned from doing jingles for Spanish radio stations, but not enough to really understand sentences and things like that. So I decided that this was a great excuse to play around with technology. Now, there's been a lot of talk here lately about artificial intelligence. Now, I've often thought that some of the people that we've had to deal with through the years had artificial intelligence, but that's a different kind of thing. But I have not at all played with AI, and some other people have. They've sent me samples of AI actually constructing jingles, all of which are universally terrible. And I've also heard examples of people using AI to take a jingle, just a stereo jingle, and separate it out into here's just the vocal, and here's just the strings, and here's just the rhythm, and here's just the horns, which is kind of frightening that it can do that from a combined signal like that. And it's not perfect, but it's amazingly fine as far as the technology to be able to do that. And they use that kind of technology a lot in that Peter Jackson film Get Back about the Beatles, because he was trying to have technology separate the voices from the guitars from the background noise so that they could mix it and you could hear what the guys in the band were saying, even though they might have been drowned out by guitars, and it worked. It was amazing. So we know that AI can do that kind of thing, but can AI tell me what the announcer is saying over these ramps that lead into these jingles? Well, I researched this. I found out that there were a number of different websites and or apps where you could actually upload some audio and it would analyze it and it would come back with a translation for you. Now, we've made this difficult for the app because it's not just a guy speaking, it's a guy speaking over music, and he's got some echo on his voice and everything. So, considering all that, I was very interested to see what it would come up with and was pleasantly surprised. So, for example, that Wado little jingle thing that I played you a few minutes ago, where they said, su compañía será siempre relajante y cañosa cuando se acusta con... I don't speak Spanish, so excuse all of that. But it translated that for me. And it says, your company will always be relaxing and loving when you sleep with... And then she sings the call letters. Listen to it again.
Su compañía será siempre relajante y cariñosa cuando se acuesta con...
So it's a smushy nighttime, little sweeper. Your company will always be relaxing and loving when you sleep with WADO. Yeah, okay. Well, let's try another one. Here's one that I think it missed a few words. I wanted it to translate this. Well, even I could understand the singer. She's singing WADO New York, Nueva York. And then the announcer is saying, sound of nights of pleasure. Wow, this is a sensual station, at least at night anyway. So, interestingly enough, to me, the thing is that the app there is not even trying to translate the singing. It ignores the singing completely. Not once in any of these that I uploaded did it latch on to the girl singing WADO or anything else. And sometimes she was even singing in English.
Presenta su edición del mediodía, un compendio de los eventos más importantes grandes acontecidos hasta este momento.
Well, that sounds important. What are they talking about? It translated that just fine. It says Noticentro, which I think is the name of their show, because noticias means news and centro is central. So Noticentro presents its midday edition, a compendium of the most important events that have occurred up to this moment. That's what he's saying over that little Moog thing, that little sequencer there. So, yeah, it's just so weird, because otherwise I would have no clue what was going on here. All right, here's one more. On this one, I'll tell you the translation first. This one is, your work always becomes more fun when you listen.
Su trabajo siempre se hace más divertido cuando escucha.
Yeah, suitably Latin rhythm there. WADO 1280 in New York is what they're singing there. And again, I have no idea who made those, where they came from, but I think it's nice that they had Spanish jingles that were a little bit different from what you would normally expect to hear. So good job on them, and good job on technology for figuring out how to translate that kind of stuff. And it doesn't take very long either. It just, you upload it and it thinks about it for a minute, and then it goes, oh, it's this. Of course, these are very short files. If I had uploaded a 30-minute lecture of some sort, then it probably would have taken longer. Well, WADO is still around, and as recently as 2017, they were doing their station ID like this.
WADO 1280 AM, New York.
Wado 1280.
Somos Euforia.
That's right. She says Wado 1280 in Spanish after the legal ID. So this brought up an interesting question in my befuddled mind, which was, I wonder if the FCC requires the stations to do their top-of-the-hour legal ID in English, or if foreign language stations can do it in whatever language they're speaking. And so I consulted Mr. Bell, our FCC rules expert here at Rewound Radio, and he says the commission, meaning the FCC, is rather vague when it comes to language of choice for the legal ID. It's not defined in the rules. Then again, some of those rules were written 90 years ago when they wouldn't have had any idea that anybody'd be speaking a foreign language on a radio station that they were responsible for. However, in this century, unofficially, the FCC has issued memos saying that they would accept emergency notifications, which are presented in the language commonly used by the station. In other words, if they fired off the emergency alert system, that tone thing, and they were going to tell you about some approaching tornado or whatever they were going to warn you about weather-wise, they're perfectly fine with the emergency notifications being in the foreign language, which makes perfect sense. But nobody really knows for sure if the legal ID needs to be English. However, it sort of makes sense that it does, which is why as recently as 2022, you would hear this on Wado.
WADO AM, Wado 1280 AM, WXNY HD2, New York, TUDN Radio. Vivimos tu pasión.
That's right. And so as the time went on and the station got bought and sold and so forth, and it turned out that it was now owned by a company that also had an FM Spanish language station in New York, and they put Wado on one of their HD channels, so they had to identify that too. So they've come a long way since that early jingle that I heard in the background of WAVZ. However, I've never been able to find that jingle, that first one that I heard, which was in English, WADO Radio 1280. I don't know where it came from. I'd love to hear that one day, but anyway. And I should just close this out by saying that WADO certainly is not the only ethnic or foreign language station that New York had. There was also this on 1330.
WEVD, New York.
With a Pam's acapella. Yes, everybody who always thought that WABC was the only station that had anything from Pam's in that era. Well, 1330 WEVD, which was another station that was in many different languages at different times, including Hebrew and some others. Well, then just keep going up there. Keep going up to 1380. What do you find?
WBNA, 1380 in New York.
That's another one with the same Pam's jingle. I've never understood how all of that came down, but WBNX, which is obviously short for Bronx, one of the boroughs, they were doing ethnic programming as well. So as you can see, there was a lot of that going around at the time, and they each found their audience, and they each served a very useful function. So in that regard, we're going to make a visit now to Spanish Harlem.
There's a rose in black and Spanish Harlem.
La 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 la, just strolling through Spanish Harlem here on
Sunday with Jon Wolfert on Rewound Radio.
That's right, we are. Somebody say something about the real thing.
I've heard about it,
Jones
now I want to know about it.
Jones Bay.
About a half a mile down the road.
Down the road.
There's a swinging place owned by a cat named Joe. It's got a neon sign up front that says Coca-Cola. If music blasting loud from an old Victrola. Yes, I've heard about it, now I want to know about it. They say all the latest dances started at Joe's. And if you want to be in with the in-crowd, go to Joe's. The best dancers in town crowd the floor, while others scooting, drinking coke. To keep the dancers going, they keep the coke flowing. The crowd keeps growing and the beat keeps going. They all keep going that coke. Whoa! Things go better with Coca-Cola. Things go better.
Gladys Knight and the Pips with that heavy beat. Coke after Coke.
After Coke, and we've got all the hits.
Rewound music.
Get up and are you standing? Are you saluting the radio? Certainly hope so. It's Rewound Radio. It deserves that sort of respect, don't you think? Well, got a note here. Got many notes. Thanks to everyone who's been to the Rewound Radio Facebook page or has sent me a note directly using the rewoundradio.com message link. Appreciate both of those. Heard from Keith McComb, who says, in the 80s, I DJ'd at WGLI 1290, located on the South Shore of Long Island in Babylon, New York. When we dropped power at sunset because of the signal being directed south, folks in North Carolina would call me for requests, while my wife living 10 minutes north of the station couldn't hear me because of WADO, W-A-D-O, interference. A few years after I left, WADO bought WGLI and simulcast for a short period until GLI burned down. So obviously it was hot hits they were playing. No more WGLI, and WADO's signal easily boomed into southern Long Island without much interference. Yeah, well, that's sort of the same problem I had trying to pick out that WADO jingle, trying to listen to waves in New Haven. And yeah, it's just weird. It was like discovering a whole different world. These people who are speaking a language that I don't understand, they have jingles too? Does everyone have jingles? Jingles? And the answer, of course, is yes, because how can you exist without them? Well, anyway, also a salute here to Rick Fazekas, who seemed to be having a difficult week, at least work-wise, and said that since I seem to like Carole King as much as he does, maybe I wouldn't mind playing a song of hers today. Well, I never mind playing a Carole King song for any occasion. Sorry that you are having a tough time, but I do want to keep your spirits up because, as you said in your note, good things are on the way, I'm sure, and so are we at Rewound Radio.
Green fields and rolling hills.
You got the Rewoundiest radio.
Rewound Radio. It's not how old it is. Radio. It's how good it is. Radio. The best music. Rewound Radio.
Playing that best music for you. All right, we've played my requisite Carole King song. Might as well get the Carpenters checked off the list, too.
There's a kind of hush all over the world tonight.
Well, it's a good thing that there's a hush so that you may not need to put headphones on to listen to Rewound Radio. But if you do need headphones, you should have a good pair like these, the leopard skin phones.
Put your headphones on, get ready to go. Prepare yourself for a stereo show.
On Rewound Radio, believe it or not, Spanky and our gang, leopard skin phones. And I've played this before, but I think it's just so interesting because it's such a nice snapshot of the times. In the late 60s, I would say 1968 or 9, when WABC FM in New York was running the semi-automated love format, they were trying to get people to listen to FM. There was still an effort being made to make that transition happen. And one of the selling points that FM had was that it was in stereo. And they made this promo using that song and editing it up very well to do this promo, which is just such a great snapshot of the time.
Stereo. We broadcast in stereo. All of the record albums you buy are in stereo. Is your radio?
The whole world's mad for the modernized sound of the stereo disc and the tape with the earphones, bass on the left side, singing on the right side.
You know, we take pride in the sound of our radio station. We do this because we think it's worth it to you who listen to us on FM stereo radios in your car.
I can hear the bass play much too softly. Turn up the volume.
We know a lot of you listen to Love on your big stereo systems at home.
Drums on the right channel. The singing and the instruments somewhere in the middle going.
This is the age of the big sound, and we're geared to broadcast it. You might think a little more about how you're receiving it. We wouldn't want you to miss a single thing we do in stereo.
WABC FM, New York.
Rewound Radio.
Hello to Sandra, who says, can you play any song by the Cowsills? Sure we can.
Here's your request.
On Rewound.
I saw her sitting in the rain. Was she reality or just a dream to me?
Oh, we are trying to be reality, but it's so difficult, you know that. All right, well, The Flower Girl. Let's see if she was 18 when that song came out, that makes her 75. I'm just not going to do that math right now. I don't care.
You are the sunshine of my life.
Rewound Radio, the sunshine of your Sunday. All right, it sounds like this record is stuck here. There, go on with it. There, that's better. Oh, yeah, whatever you say, man.
Rewound Radio.
John with you on Sunday. Happy to be around the world with you with the best music. And we have more. What's the official term here? Let me look that up in my official Oh, here it is. Jingle Mishigas. That's what it is. It says so right in the book. It must be true. That'll be coming up soon right here at Rewound Radio.
Every day I get you, my baby, my magic buzz.
That's all the Jingle fans going, I want it, I want it.
It's Jingle time on Rewound Radio with Jon Wolfert.
You got it, you got it. We were talking about jingles in Spanish for WADO, W-A-D-O, in New York. And so that got me to thinking about jingles that were sung in Spanish in general. And there have been many, of course, that were done over familiar jingle packages by familiar jingle producers. And just thought we'd feature a few of those for a few minutes here, just for the fun of it, because it can be kind of a kick to hear a familiar jingle